So how good is the new enhanced noise reduction in Capture One? I'm going to use some images that are from a conference event that I photographed for a client. I'm just going to zoom in here. This is at 100% and it's shot at 5,600 ISO. Let's just zoom in a little bit. I'm going to go to pixel peep here at 500%. And you can see there's definitely some noise. There's some noise on the stage. You can see that pattern. Now, this isn't an underexposed image. It's got some pretty good lighting, but the idea here is just to start working through from this image right up to really dark images at 10,000 ISO and give you an idea how good the noise reduction is. You can just see lots of noise here. Looking at the jacket, there's some nice detail here, but there's some noise. And you can see that in the background. Just going to pan over in a moment, but let's turn on that Enhanced Denoise. It's going to take a few seconds. It's just going to count down, so we'll just give it a second here. But I think what's really impressive is what you're about to see. So let's just let that finish. Here we go. Again, this is real time. This is on my 16-inch MacBook Pro. And you can see a difference right away, right? Notice the change, that person who's out of focus in the background. No gritty grain stuff that was there. The detail's still there. And look at the edges of the jacket. You can see fiber. So it hasn't blurred the edges. You can just follow this up a little bit. There, you can see the edges of the fiber on the jacket. That's pretty cool. And that's just at 5,600 ISO. Just going to pan around a little bit more. You can see it didn't smear anything. Skin still has detail. Hair has detail. It's not as clean as 100. But here we go. Just turn it off so you can see the before. So there's some noise you can see in the background and in the skin. Gives you a little bit of an idea. You can see it on. Turn it off again. There it is there around the skin. Let's just turn it back on. So that gives you an idea, right? It's done a really good job at 5,600 ISO. So I would say that's usable. My client would, since they're using this for the web and internal publication, definitely of high enough quality. Let's just go up to now an image that's at 8,000 ISO. This has a lot of mixed lighting. It was kind of an interesting thing going on at a power plant that has sort of a light show, and it's kind of a cool thing for the clients. So you can see there's lots of noise here in the area. I've just zoomed out to fit it. And, lots of different lighting from deep shadow to highlights. Let's just zoom in. There's 100. We'll go right into pixel peep at 500%. And yeah, there's definitely some noise here. You can just see that as I pan around. Let's turn it on. Here comes the Enhanced Denoise. Give it a second here. It's just going to run through its little process. Again, it's pretty quick. I mean, these are 45 megapixel images. You don't have to do every single image this way, although with Capture One you could batch, but I'd be more selective. And take a look. It's cleaned it up dramatically. It's still got the patterns. You can read the words here nice and clear. It isn't all crunched and smushed and weird like some things. I'll just turn it off. There's the noise. There it is without. That's pretty good. Just pan around. There it is overall. Just zoom in again here at 500%. Look at the jacket, or the shirt, I should say. And the wall, that's really clean for 5,000 or 8,000 ISO. I'm just going to look at the background now. See danger, emergency, exit. You can see that really clearly. It didn't smear the words. There's still that pattern of light. That's actually the light being projected on the jacket. There's texture in the other guy's jacket. And again, these are in the distance in the crowd, so they're a little out of focus. And remember, this is 500%. Now going to an image that is 10,000, and wow, there's a lot more grain and noise, and it's kind of dark. Just give you a full view. There's that guy's jacket again. Let's zoom in. So we've got detail at 10,000, detail on the shirt, definitely some grain in the face, maybe a little bit out of focus. There's some hairs. So not bad. No lighting other than the existing light. Let's turn it on. And again, takes a few seconds to run it through, about 15 seconds in total. How will it do at 10,000 ISO? Well, we're almost there. And here it goes. Boom. Now, maybe the skin's a little too smooth, a little too mushy, but you can turn it down. So I'm just going to pull it back a bit, put a little bit of texture in there. That tiny amount of grain, that doesn't bother me. And remember, this is 500%. That's pixel peeping. This is where people get ridiculous, you know. We're never going to see that in a print. We're never going to see that on somebody's website. But there's lots of detail in that jacket. Again, just looking at things overall, you can see there's some bright highlights, jet blacks. Let's just zoom in again. Let's just pan around a bit. Let's find something to look at. Okay, how about the microphone? Let's go in. There's full view. Just zooming into 500%. You can see the grading in the microphone. I'll turn it off and back on. That does a nice job. It doesn't smear it, right? And that microphone isn't perfectly in focus, right? That wasn't under the focus point sensor. Her skin, again, like I say, a little bit too much, but she's a bit out of focus. I was more worried about the speaker interacting with her. Let's take a look at his shirt. Lots of details in the pattern, right into the button. There's 500% again. So, you know, we could buy a third-party program, but this is great. I'm going to zoom in on this image in a moment, but you can see there's lots of light and shadow, some really jet blacks. And remember, I haven't boosted anything. This is just straight out of camera. I can boost the shadows in a moment. I'll do that in a bit. But let's just see. This is 10,000 ISO. You know, you can see there's a lot of contrast. Let's zoom in, go into this tabletop fabric and the guy's arm. Lots of noise here. You know, that maybe you wouldn't want to send that to your client directly, but let's use the enhanced noise feature in a second. Just give you an idea of how noisy this image is. Lots of grit. Again, it's a pretty contrasty image. Okay, let's turn it on. And again, about 15 seconds to run through. And how's it going to look? Remember, 10,000 ISO. Done. Wow. Pretty clean, right? It's pretty amazing. Again, off, on, off, on. You know, there's detail here still. And that wasn't a close-up of this. This is across the room. There's the guy's shirt. You can see there's still texture and pattern. Hair has got, it's a little smeared maybe. But again, was she in focus? There's a glass. Take a look at her bracelet. Let's turn it off. Turn it back on, off, on. You can really see detail there. So this again, 10,000 ISO in a dark room with all kinds of mixed lighting. And you can actually make out there's that emergency exit across the way. There's the guy's phone. I'll turn it off, turn it on, off, on. I think that really is showing the power of this tool. We'll go to another one. There's a pattern on a shirt that's pretty intense. And there was some noise on the skin. You can make that out pretty clearly. Again, 500%. Turn it on again, get that enhanced noise, denoise, I should say. Give it that 10, 15 seconds. And the cool thing is this is right in Capture One. I don't have to buy some third-party thing. What do you think? There's the denoise active with that shirt pattern, the background. There's the noise. There it's gone. There it is, gone. Shirt looking pretty good. You can make out the 50 on that. Let's take a look at this lady over here on the far right. So that's pretty deep shadow. Again, remember, I haven't boosted the shadows on anything yet. I will. There's detail in the jacket. Gone. It's back on. Really doing a nice job. So I think Capture One is sort of knocked it out of the park with this. There's some people in the background. Again, they're out of focus. Now that is not a moire. That's actually what the light show is doing. It gives you this kind of almost looks like a moire pattern. Turn it off, turn it back on, off, on. just working really, really well. Yeah, let's go in here to adjust. And I'm just going to boost the shadows on this. What happens when I boost the shadows a lot? So that's bringing the shadows up a fair bit, right? I'm about 75 or so. And I'm going to zoom in on this. Let's go back into 500%. So our ridiculous thing, there's 500% in the arm texture and skin, the shirt. Pan around a little bit. You know, am I getting all kinds of noise being recreated when I boost the shadows? No. Remember, that's 10,000 ISO. So it's really clean, all things considered. You know, I can definitely make this, I use this as a tool when I'm working in low light for my clients. Again, detail in that jacket. And again, this person is across the room. He's in the background. Bring the shadows back down, bring it up. That's boosting to 100 so you can really see, but the noise isn't coming up. Bring that back down to something normal. So that's looking pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with it. I think you will be too. Let's do the same thing here. This is, again, a little bit underexposed, so just pushing those shadows up. How's the noise? You know, he's not perfectly in focus. These aren't client images. These are just test images. But you can see that lots of detail without it getting all smeared and weird. You can see the fibers on the jacket still, details on those buttons. You know, maybe there's something that's even better, but I'm saying this is an all-in-one package right now. This works for me. Let's go into this other really dark image. Boost those shadows up again just to bring it up. I'm going to go, there we go, about 62. It's kind of unique background, different lighting. Just pan around a bit, see what we've got. We're not getting any kind of weird noise. And it isn't mushy and smeared. There's those lines from the lights. There's a pattern in his shirt. You know, again, we're at 500%. So just think about that. Here's one more example just to give you an idea. And you can see in this case, the extreme contrast, you know, lots of shadow, lots of blacks, very little midtones, and then some white areas that are actually clipping. I'm going to just put on the exposure warning and you can see the whites and the highlights are blown out. So let's zoom in again. Let's just go into 500%. There we go. And we can pan around a little bit. There's lots of noise. You know, that's just pretty nasty. I'm going to zoom back out just to give myself a fit in screen view. And let's apply our enhancement. And so there it is. And I sped that up, by the way. I just did it already. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit back to 500%. And that noise is gone and looking pretty good. Now, of course, exposure is whacked. So let's fix that. So I'm going to bring the clipping on the highlights down so I can see the screens, and that's not bad. But what happens when I boost the shadows? I can boost the shadows pretty heavily. That's a bit much. And let's take a look at how things look. So we'll go in at 500% and pan around a bit. And so, yeah, there's, you know, a lack of resolution. Now we're in so high at 45 megapixels, but, you know, we can really read things pretty clearly. There is some, I guess you could say, some noise in those shadows, so I can even just boost it a little bit more to clean that up if I want. Maybe make the blacks a tiny bit richer. I don't know. That's a bit of flare. Let's just go back into this dark area. I'm going to turn my clipping warnings again. So the blacks are good. My highlights, there's a few spots, but I'm not going to worry about that. But you can see everything looks nice and clean. Zoom in at 500%. There we go. Again, let me just turn off the denoise. It looks like that. That's with the highlights pulled back and the shadows brought up, and it cleans up like this. And maybe, just maybe, I'd want a little more saturation. I'm just going to do that just because I can. Let's boost our saturation a tiny bit. There we go. Let's go back out. And there we have it. There's 10,000 ISO. And if you want to see the before and after, let's take a look. There's before, there's after, before, after. That's pretty amazing. So I think this is an excellent tool. I would be using it, I'm going to be using it all the time, basically. In my case, when I'm shooting high ISO, bad lighting conditions, it's going to fix up some images as need be. Again, nothing's going to beat proper exposure and proper lighting, but this certainly in low light conditions is going to allow me to work with high ISO and not worry about noise. And my clients are going to be totally happy with this. So there you go, the new Enhanced Denoise tool in Capture One.